Today I wanted to make a quick video on your hooks and split rings and why you should be changing them out on majority of your baits. So first we're going to start off just by saying most of your production run baits are going to come with some pretty junky hooks and split rings. That's just normal. They do it to save money, and to be honest, I would rather have my product cost less than them try to put premium hooks on a lot of these things, which more than likely you're going to change out regardless, because I'll be honest, I don't trust them. I don't trust they're going to put quality hooks and splits, because that's, again, it's a cost-effective thing for them. And for you, it also does help because you're going to know you have good hardware on here, because it's going to matter. You're going to end up losing maybe a PB or a fish of a lifetime just because you kind of cheaped out and decided not to upgrade your hardware. So we'll start off first with split rings. So your sizes are going to go, the smaller the number, the smaller the split ring. And it's going to reverse when we get here to hooks, and I'll show you what I mean. So your sizes 2 and 3 are going to be your smaller split rings. So your 2s and 3s are going to be mainly for things like your jerk baits. So like a Vision 110, this is a Jackal re-range. Another thing you're going to use them for is going to be some of your crankbaits, some of your smaller square bills. That's going to be your majority of use for them. And then you're going to bump up to sizes 4 and 5. So they are going to be, again, 4 is going to be larger, 5 is going to be the largest of those. And they are going to be what you're going to use for majority of your swim baits. Maybe you're going to use them for some bigger crankbaits, even something along those size. I have size 5s on here. You don't need to go that big, but that's the biggest I go is the 5s. 6 is very large. That's something that you would maybe use on saltwater lures. Also, maybe some of your really big swim baits that are getting up into that like 10 plus. I don't feel it necessary, because these are BKK. These are a 71 pound breaking strength. That's very heavy. I don't have any gear that's gonna need to be quite that. And of course, everything else I've shown you is owner. So owner and BKK, they're the ones I stick with. There's a few others out there, but I can't speak on them because these are what I've used and these are what have worked for me. So I have no complaints there. Another quick recommendation is going to be your oval split rings. So these are going to be things you're going to use on primarily the nose of the bait, like on a Megabass Vision 110. You're going to use that in place of a circular split ring, just because it does help with the action and it pairs up well. Another one you're going to use it for is going to be like on a lipless. Like this is a Jackal TN70. On the back of the bait there's also their line tie. I like to use those on that because that's what they come with, and also it matches well with the bait. So moving into hooks, it's going to be opposite. So the larger the number, the smaller the hook. For example, I use mainly owner ST36, which is your run-of-the-mill basic hook. It's a good all-purpose round bend treble hook that's going to have purpose for almost every different type of lure. Again, we'll go into, there's different strengths you can get, but for the ST36, it serves a good all-around purpose. So that's a good jumping off point if you're just getting into it and trying to alleviate all the confusion. So your sizes 6 and 5 are going to be your smallest hooks that I'm going to use. They do go smaller. I have no need to get anything smaller than that, and that's going to be primarily for things like this lipless crankbait. You're going to have like the Lucky Craft, and then you're going to have your TN70s. They're generally going to be your smallest hooks you're probably going to buy. They're going to be your sizes 6s and 5s. And also on that is going to be, again, your Vision 110s, smaller jerk baits like that, maybe some really, really small crankbaits. And another thing I want to throw out there, though, for the jerk bait specifically, because they are a little more tuned for weight, I've been really loving these Gamakatsu. These are specifically made for jerk baits and smaller crankbaits. They're the G-Finesse. So these I would highly recommend. The sizes 5 are really good balance for the Megabass 110 specifically. I do have that also. This is a Jackal re-range. They pair up very nice with that. And again, your size 2 split rings are going to be what you're going to go for those. Moving up in size and moving down in number are going to be your size 4s and 2s. So you're going to have a size 4, ST36 generally is what I run. And then for my larger jerk baits, I do run a size 2 of the G-Finesse. And that's going to be for something like a Megabass Canada. That's going to match up really well with the size. And again, the hook is balanced very well for weight, and they're very thin. So that is good for jerk baits because you get very good penetration. But again, with those baits, you have to be a little more finessey about, you're not going to be bank flipping fish, which generally smaller hooks, you're not going to be doing that as much as you can avoid because they're not built for that. You're not going to be hauling fish in on 20-pound test. You're going to generally be using that 12, maybe up to 15 with those smaller hooks. You start moving into the sizes 4s and 2s, you're going to step it up naturally, but they're going to be stronger hooks. So moving up then to your size 2s, this is where I start to implement the ST56 for my needs. It allows me to keep the hooks still small, but still have better strength. So if I want to put it on, like I have this on my Baitsanity, I use these on a couple different ones. These are great because it does also help with the weight of the bait. If you have a topwater bait, just going up in strength from a 36 to an ST56 allows you to weigh that bait a little bit better. If it's a slow sink, you can make it slightly faster, not a ton, but it will make it sink a little bit more. And if it's topwater and you want it to go subsurface on a faster retrieve, that's a great way to do it without having these big hooks dangling down that really aren't necessary. And again, you can judge your need for a 3X hook for where you're fishing, depending on what you're fishing for. You might have all your hooks as a 3X. I personally don't need it. I don't feel it's necessary. I haven't had any bend out yet, other than these smaller hooks, which is to be expected just because of the size of the hook. So then moving up in size, you're going to have your 1s, but I also wanted to make a recommendation. So these Gamakatsus, these round bend trebles I've been getting into, this is also a size 2. I have these on a couple of my lures. I've been really liking them. They're a nice alternative to the ST56 or ST36. They seem to be pretty strong. They come out very sharp. And again, Gamakatsu is a great brand. I would recommend any of those hooks for any other purposes that I've mentioned so far. So on your size 1s, I actually have the Gamakatsus. I've been liking these. These are the 2X strong. So these are something I've been putting on larger swim baits that, again, I don't want those giant 1/0 hooks. So I size down to a 1. And these have been working great for me. And another thing I wanted to mention is these hook caps, these safety caps. They're great, especially for your smaller baits because they have very fine points on them. It does help, one, they don't tangle up with other lures in your tackle box or however you decide to organize them, but also it does keep them a little more sharp because of them rubbing off each other, rubbing off inside the tackle box. Yeah, it's not a lot, but it does help keep them sharper a little bit longer while you're storing them. There's no need to get them dulled down for no reason at all. And another thing that I've noticed too, if you have a topwater. So I don't go with a 2X or a 3X with something like this because this relies a lot on weight to keep on the top of the water column. So I go with the size 1, just a regular ST56. And for something like this, I'm going to be running like size 5 split rings. And you have to find the balance. It's 100% user. You're going to have to be the one that decides that. So you as the person who's throwing the baits, you have to decide how you want it to float, if you want it to sink. And also, if you're fishing and you're getting your hooks bent out constantly, if you're going muskie, pike, maybe have striper, or you're saltwater fishing, that's going to be mostly dependent on the weight of the fish and the types of fish that you're getting. That's going to be for the strength. For me, it's more about weight. And I like mostly the 1X hooks when I get to the larger ones. Other than those Gamakatsus, those 2X hooks have been working well for me. For the 1/0s, I only have them on a few baits. I think they're a little bit big for a lot of my, but I do like this on these are the round bend Gamakatsu, the bronze. These are great hooks also because in the water, they do a good job of concealing the hooks because they're not very reflective. They do tend to blend in. I think that they look good in the water. If I'm going to go with a bigger hook, I'm going to go with something like this. But for this bait specifically, it's a very, very high float. So this does help it keep it down just a little bit to where I like it. So I won't go above a 1/0, and even then, I don't buy a lot of them. I have them on hand. I have not bent out any other hooks that I feel that it's necessary. But for the size of the bait, you're going to have to match up what you think pairs well with it. And one more thing I wanted to mention off the topic of hooks and split rings are going to be your snaps. So I've been using the Hog Farmers, and I have the sizes 1 and 2. These are awesome. They're very, very strong. You can do it with your hands, but you're pretty much going to need those pliers to get those open. They are very strong. They do not open easily, which is why I like them. And that's going to be something great to put on the front of some of your, especially glide baits, is what you're going to be using them for, to allow the action of that bait to open up a little bit. I do run a split ring on a lot of my glides just because it works well with the action. I'll put like a size 5 on the nose of the bait, and some of the baits I don't like the action with a snap, so I'll avoid it. Another thing for crankbaits are these VMC crankbait snaps. I've been really liking these because generally for all crankbaits, whether they be a deep diver or a square bill, I will use these apart from the lipless. And one, it does increase the ability of the crankbait to move side to side, which to me is what I want. And also, within reason, you can open them up, change out. Say you want to go deeper, say you want to go different colors, different size. That's a way you can have to not retie constantly. But again, you want to keep it within reason because you don't want to be opening these up 10, 15, 20 times. You're going to affect the strength of that eventually, but these seem solid. So that's not something that I really keep track of, but I wouldn't keep the same one tied on for an entire year, maybe for a few trips, and then you toss it, you throw another one on there. So that's just what I wanted to talk about, because me being newer, getting back into fishing, I never switched out hooks. And when I did, it's because they bent one out. I'd go to Walmart, I'd get the junkiest hooks possible, the American Eagles, whatever was out there. And it's not the right way to do it, especially if you're serious about fishing. You should be changing them out. The reason why I'm making this video now is because it's where I'm at, where I'm in Pennsylvania. It's super, super cold. It's frozen over. I'm not fishing. So now's a great time to, if you don't, start switching out your hooks. Look into upgrading your hardware, because it's the simplest thing, and something so minimal as a little split ring can make the difference between you losing a fish and getting it. And with the hooks especially, you bend one out or they just get too dull too quickly, and you're just not hooking up properly when you have, especially some of these baits, they're very expensive. You're paying $20, $30, $40, $50 for a bait. Why would you not upgrade the hooks and split rings right off the bat to give yourself the best chance possible of catching fish of a lifetime, or just fish in general? Another thing you're going to need is the split ring pliers. I don't even remember what these are. I believe these are the KVD ones. There's so many ones out there. You really can't go wrong with a cheap pair, but those have been great for me. And also a lot of them, you're going to have like a braid cutting, kind of like scissors on the inside here of the pliers. So those have been working great for me. But for the most of these, it's easier just to get a pair of split ring pliers, because it just helps you swap them out. Super, super simple. And they're small. You can throw them in your bag or on your boat or your kayak, which is how I fish. And you can bring them with you, And if you need to swap out a hook or you bend one out when you're out there, you can either take it off a different bait. If the bait you're working that's the juice that day, take it off a different bait, or maybe bring, throw a pack in your bag with a couple split rings. It's very easy to travel with. So you can swap them out if it's one of those days where you just want to keep that same bait on. Maybe a hook bends out or something, or maybe you get it snagged and it dulls it pretty bad. You can swap them out, no problem at all. So that's my overall view on starting to do a deep dive into this category of altering your baits, tuning them, whatever you want to call it. I got a lot of this info off other YouTube channels, not gonna lie. I've compiled all the information, and I'm only going to recommend what I use. So I will not go on a big tangent about all these other baits and all these other brands of hooks and split rings. You cannot go wrong with Owner. You cannot go wrong with BKK or Gamakatsu. I have used, those are the three that generally I've been using, whether they come with some of my bigger swim baits, they come with BKKs. Those have gotten very popular. Like this, like the Artisan Gills, the Artisan Glides as well. They come with really good BKK hooks. I've been loving those, no issues at all. But for me personally, I've been using the Gamakatsu, the round bend trebles, the bronze specifically, and then again with the G-Finesse with the jerkbait hooks. I can't complain about any of that. So that's my take on it. You need to decide what's best for you, but if you want to go with Owner and Gamakatsu, BKK, just to start, there's nothing wrong with getting your a lineup of split rings, sizes 2 through 5, and then again with your hooks, maybe you go from a sizes 6 through 1, and you buy 1 pack of each. It's not too much of an investment and allows you to at least see what you're buying, and you can go from there and decide which ones you want to keep, which ones you want to swap out. And I would implore everybody to try out different things. Try out different hook sizes, because they don't always come with the proper hooks, even the right sizes. Sometimes you might want to go lower, which I mean downsize your hooks, or you might want to upsize them or upsize the split rings, because sometimes split rings come and they're too small for the bait or they're too big for the bait. That's for you to decide. But it's not always bad that when you want to swap out the baits, you match up the size of the hook. You would take your bait, take your hook, try to match them up, try to see if it's the proper size, and that's a really easy way to swap them out without actually having to know what sizes you're using and what you should use. So you can always do that right off the bat, get the stock hooks, measure them up, just to see it's a good starting off point, and then from there you can go smaller. You can up the strength. You can go to a 3X hook. Maybe you like that. Maybe it helps the bait, the action of the bait, but just know that when you start going up in size, you're going to restrict the movement of the baits, like something like a glide bait. You're going to notice that's going to be your biggest variable when you're using stuff like this. The jointed baits, not so much. Like when you're using these jointed baits, they pretty much keep their action almost identical depending on the hooks. They really don't vary a lot. But something like the top water, as I said, you're going to see a lot from, because this, again, goes by weight on keeping that bait on the top. So if you want it to sink down, great. You can also put the strips on them. I'm not going to get into that. I'm sticking with hooks and splits for today, but that's a great way that you can weigh them down or lighten them up. You can also put smaller ones on this. I have another one of these that I have a size 2. So the size 2 and the size 1s on this, it does make the bait act a little bit differently. So again, that's something that you have to decide as the user, how you want your bait to react in the water, and if it's the proper strength for the fish that you're catching. So that's going to be it for today. I just wanted to make one as in the perspective of a newbie that's getting back into fishing after a few years, and also someone who never really took the deep dive on the terminal tackle and the split rings, the snaps. All that stuff is pretty new to me. I've done it before, but again, I never really had a purpose when I did it. So now you have to do it with purpose, especially if you're serious about it. You really want to give yourself the best chances out there of catching these fish. and not only catching them, but having the proper hardware that these hooks are going to last you. You don't want to just be catching one fish. If you have a good day, now you catch 2-3 fish and your hooks are trashed. So you want to avoid that at all costs, and it does not cost a lot to upgrade them. And that's just something that I personally did not do in the past that I wish I would have. I'm sure I've lost some fish that I should have got. And this year I do notice that mostly every fish that's coming up, taking a bite at the baits, I'm sticking them for the most part. Again, that's not always true, but I'm noticing keeping my hook sharp and swapping them out really has made a difference in my fishing this year. So I hope that this information was useful to some people. And if you're someone that does already do this, maybe giving some different ideas or different brands, that's my goal, is to just kind of share information that I've gathered and what's worked for me. So anybody, please feel free to comment down below on what you've been using, what you recommend, good and bad, because I'm still looking for things to put into my fishing and possibly options that I would like to use. So I appreciate everybody watching, and that's going to be it for today.